You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
I don't know if I'm okay. I don't see the light of day. Looking up to higher ground, thinking that'll be a sweet escape. These days gotta schedule the romance. They say that love is a slow dance. A short bike ride to the crib, using no hands. Oh shit, it feel like I'm floating, but I'm falling with both eyes closed when I let the world spin. Testing the water, she got my nerves tense. Back when I ain't even have a purpose, I was so eager to learn some things. Anxiety bring out the worst in me. Society paint me as enemy. My niggas making it by that remedy. I'm more occasional, don't do it regularly. Backs under my eyes, weighing down heavily. Mama been worried, the devil allegedly deep in the plan. Subconsciously wanted it since I was 10. I thought I was sharp on my scroll and my pen think it did. So mama found shit of them legs. She told me that's not who I am. But nowadays I put on for the fam, see you when I can. I'm surrounded by my feelings, I'm stuck on a Ferris wheel. I bet I perish with 140 acres. She want the horse and the carriage, a porcelain portion of garbage. I talk to the mirror, I know that life's not the fairest. I lost my can, I can't pay off the bills with the blessing. I'm sure I relate to the Reddit page. It's feeling like money is everything. Money is everything. It's everything I need. Till I lay my eyes on you. What this is.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that lovely introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe. This is season 15, episode 4. I know it's been a few days since you last saw me. Last heard this beautiful voice. A couple of things I'd like to get up front. This is part 1 of the NFL Mock Draft 2.0. We're going to do picks 1 through 17, and then 18 through 31. Couple things. We'll do the NFL draft grades. Draft's almost upon us. Couple things that I like and did not like what I heard in terms of some of these picks. We'll get into it. I am still going to do the NFL offseason draft grades. And then WNBA, my Washington Mystics Media Day should be coming up soon. It's usually always on the first, second week, really for the WNBA, honestly, because by the 20th, they have to report back to the States. So we're going to have much content out here for you guys. We're getting ready to get back into the swing of things, but let's just get into it. NFL Mock Draft 2.0. This is my final draft. I thought I'd have opportunity to do 3, but that's okay. We just have to just call an audible and just work with what we got. I feel like this time I went with best needs and best players. I felt what would fit the team. You can make a case for some of these. Personally, the first 5 picks to me are interchangeable. And you guys let me know. But with the first overall pick, the Carolina Panthers select Bryce Young. It's a no-brainer. I think Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud are the top 2 quarterbacks of this draft. I think Bryce Young will fit this scheme of Frank Wright. It's a new era in Carolina. For me, they've unfortunately had the unfortunate pleasure of having quarterbacks that have not panned out well. And the previous head coach didn't pan out well. No, they do still have Matt Corral, and they did sign Andy Dalton. I kind of feel bad for Matt Corral. I kind of feel bad for last year's draft class of quarterbacks, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, and even Malik Willis, because they've kind of been put in a weird situation. But that's another subject for another video. For me, you all know Bryce Young. He's a highly mobile quarterback. He got great quarterback vision downfield. Kind of reminds me of Russell Wilson. Doesn't resort to running out the pocket as a first option. I think he just has a skill set that will fit this system in Carolina. With the second overall pick, I switched up a little bit. I said Houston will take Will Anderson Jr. I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from on this. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded coach. Last year took Derek Stingley. Why not continue to buff up your defense now? They have the 12th overall pick. If Houston's smart, and I know next year's draft class has some diamonds in terms of quarterbacks, right? You can honestly and truthfully trade and get more draft capital if you're Houston. But your identity for right now should be building up your defense. But at the same time, you did get a little bit more on offense. You did sign Dalton Schultz. You signed Robert Woods. I'm not sold on other guys that got Nico Collins and those guys. I'm a fan of Dameon Pierce, but I'm not sold on that offense. They need focus on defense. I feel like, to me, Will Anderson Jr. is a good fit for this team. With the third overall pick. Now, I know this may be something controversial, but you could go with either one of these two. I said Arizona takes Jalen Carter. Now, I'm completely aware of the stuff that's happened off the field. I'm aware of it. But for me, both teams, whether he goes, I think he doesn't fall as far as 5. Seattle, Arizona would benefit with a guy like Jalen Carter. But for me, in a system like Arizona, they need, to me, defense. Because when you look at now the loss of retirement of J.J. Watt, and then they lost Zach Allen, they need defense. And for me, he fits that. Now, take your pick. Tyree Wilson, I consider him out of Texas Tech. But I really do think you need defense regardless. I think Jalen Carter will be a good fit here. I mean, again, I don't see him falling no more than 5. Number 4, C.J. Stroud goes to Indianapolis. Now, Chris Ballard, to me, has one more chance to straighten it up because personally, I think he's gotten way too many chances. Because that team last year, you could just tell that team was built for Andrew Luck. And unfortunately, Matt Ryan just got his money and just didn't pan out. Other than Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, you don't have much on offense to work with. And their offensive line definitely needs work. But you have to start somewhere. And you have to, me personally, it starts with you need an identity. Now that you've got Shane Strickland, who I think has played a significant role in the development of Jalen Hurts, quarterback. Now, I'm not really feeling these narratives on CJ. I don't know where these narratives came from, but I want you guys to know, I hope you guys are starting to understand that narratives do impact a player, because from all of a sudden of he can't thrive in a pro-style offense, I don't know where that came from. I don't know why we do that. It bothers me. They did it with Lamar Jackson. They did it. They did it. Quarterbacks, it's always with it bothers me. With any player, they'll always say, well, he's a good player, but, and it does impact where you're drafted, to me. And for me, take your pick. He could go to Houston. He could go to Indy, but Indy to me is a quarterback needed team. Number 5, Tyree Wilson goes to Seattle. Now, Seattle, they need a lot because for me, their defense hasn't, since 2018. They have been, I think, around 21st, 22nd, and it clearly showed in the playoffs against San Francisco. They talked about wanting to draft a quarterback. They need to work on their defense. And for me, when I look at Tyree Wilson, I think for me, he's a linebacker. I think he will be an explosive guy. He's 6'6", 271. I think he has a skill set. And for me, it's a logical option. Now, I know last year he had a broken foot, but they do need defense here. With the 6th overall pick, Detroit selects Devon Witherspoon. For me personally, the reason why I said corner, because it just traded Jeff Okudah to the Falcons. And for me, I think he's a little bit more of an upgrade from Jeff. I just don't think Jeff panned out. But I also too blame, let's just say before Aaron Glenn got there, I think the system was just not good for him, in my personal opinion. I think he has the size, he has the skill set. He and Christian Gonzalez, to me, are the top 2 best corners, other than Cam Smith and Kaylee Ringo. These 2 are the best. You can make a case. You can say Christian Gonzalez could go here. But I think for me, the agility, the size sells me for him. I think he'd be a great fit in Detroit. Before we get to the 7th overall pick, we're going to get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? Then why don't you check out Zagnif Apparel, where you can and you will dress like you're already famous.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can certainly dress like you're already famous with a nice 15% off using my code, Big Nate. Again, check out Zagnif Apparel, where you can and you will dress like you're already famous. Thank you to Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. It's much appreciated. With the 7th overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Christian Gonzalez. Now, that defense was atrocious last year, in my opinion. And they really, really need a lot. To me, I think that coming out of Oregon, he's probably one of the best corners, especially for a guy his size. He is very athletic, and it would not faze me if Las Vegas went defense, because you need defense here. You can't tell me you need offense, because it's interesting. I looked at a stat, particularly the time since Derek Carr has been a starter. Their defense hasn't lived up to their expectation. And I think it's just interesting that he got scapegoated. But that's one that's for another video. Number 8, Myles Murphy goes to Atlanta. Now, I like Myles Murphy because, if you're in Atlanta, you can take pretty much anything else, but you just got Jeff Okudah. For me, there's no shame in buffing up your defense. For me, it's always important to buff up your defense. I consider wide receiver. I even consider tight end. But I think if you're Atlanta, just continue to focus on the defensive side of the ball. If I picked wide receiver, it'll probably be, I would say, with Jackson Smith out of Ohio State. But I'm more comfortable with Atlanta going defense. But that's number 9. Chicago buffs up their offensive section with Peter Skoronsky out of Northwestern. You got to protect your investment in Justin Fields. I think that's by far important. You got DJ Moore. Now, I consider defense. I considered Nolan Smith. Hell, I even considered Barter Jones. I considered another wide receiver here. They need a lot of stuff, but excuse me, you need to buff up your protection, particularly around Justin Fields. Offensive line to me is important. You're going to be protecting his blind side. For me, um, also too, on the other side, you have Tevin Jenkins, who I believe he can stay healthy. It's time you start putting an offensive line around Justin Fields. That's just my opinion. With the 10th overall pick, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking Paris Johnson Jr. Now, the reason why I have them taking Paris Johnson Jr. is for a couple of reasons. Um, Jason Kelsey is 35, and Lane Johnson will be turning 33. So they're not getting any older. If you're Philadelphia, you just paid Jalen Hurts. You need to buff up your protection for him. And you drafted Hunter Dickerson, which I think was a steal. I could see him potentially moving to center. You have Cam Jurgens and then Isaac Samalo. So to me, if you take Paris Johnson and you let him develop under Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey, you got to steal. Now, I understand that Miles Sanders departed for free agency and they could use some defense. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. I value offensive line. Offensive linemen to me are always going to be more valuable than a running back. That's just my opinion. Number 11, the Tennessee Titans take Anthony Richardson. This is not directed at Anthony Richardson. I just feel bad for Malik Willis because apparently Malik Willis has quote unquote lost faith. They have lost faith in him in Tennessee, and they set him up to fail. Coming out of Liberty University, I think he was a good quarterback. Ryan Tannehill's in the last year of his contract. The Titans are, to me, at a crossroads. They're now at an identity crisis. It's gotten stale. What they had last year didn't work. Derrick Henry was out for majority of the season. Treylon Burks is a rookie. Robert Woods didn't pan out the way I thought he could be a decent number 2 wide receiver. And they were mired with injuries. So now you're at a crossroads. Now I considered a wide receiver here, but if you're okay with Ryan Tannehill in the last year of his contract, then last year the division was in the hands of Josh Dobbs. God bless you. But I really do think it has to start somewhere. Personally, I'm a little concerned that Mike Vrabel has a little too much say in the front office because me personally, you should have some type of confidence in Malik Willis, but they don't. Anthony Richardson out of Florida, I think to me it's a Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton hybrid quarterback. Like he has the arm. I thought he did amazing. Had an amazing NFL combine. I think he has the arm. And particularly in that system in Tennessee where they have a scheme, especially they have, you could potentially see him in some schemes, but he's not ready to start. And if Tennessee is smart, they have to start putting stuff around him now. But that's just me. But I see them taking a quarterback. 12. Houston takes Will Levis. Now I'm going to tell you why. Now, there should be no pressure on Houston on taking a quarterback because I'm going to tell you why. Because if Houston's smart, right, because I can see this happening, they will trade for a next year first-round pick. Now, I say take Will Levis now because, in all seriousness, if the value is right and it's fair, take it. However, my concern is you don't want to miss on, damn, I could have taken one of these guys. Now, Will Levis is a good quarterback for me. Now, my concern with Will Levis is his consistency in his footwork. Now, I know he's came off an injury. I know he's buffed off his athleticism, his strength, all that. But he definitely needs to work on being more consistent. No, I'm sorry, he didn't suffer an injury. I apologize. It's just he needs to just improve on his footwork. No, I'm talking. How can I say this? Last year, let's just say he needed to buff up, because he definitely took some sacks at Kentucky, and he definitely needs work on that. Let me say it like that. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with the final 4 picks for the first round, picks 1 through 17. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And as I'm recording this video, the Green Bay Packers traded Brett Favre 2.0 to the New York Jets. I feel really bad for Jordan Love, but that's a whole other subject when we get to the NFL offseason talk. They need to just start with some offense, and it starts to me with Michael Mayer. I think you need a tight end. I think you need a pass catching option for Jordan Love, with Mr. Robert Tonyan now departing for Chicago. I also consider defense here. I consider offensive line. At Green Bay, they need a lot. Because David Bakari, he's not getting any younger. He's been dealing with injuries. Everything is needed badly in Green Bay. You could really take anything here, honestly and truthfully. I also consider Barbara Jones. I considered Joey Porter Jr., Darnell Wright. Hell, I even considered Dalton Classic out of Utah. They need some help in Green Bay for Jordan Love. 14, I said that New England takes Jordan Addison. Now, Jacoby Myers departed for free agency. Ironically, the team they lost to, and that's Las Vegas. They need a receiver, in my opinion. I just want to just bring this up to you guys. So this is with Mac Jones, and I'm a little concerned with this. Now, I considered a couple things. I considered offensive lineman, but he needs receivers. Let me just give you his wide receivers. Kendrick Bourne, Lynn Bolden, Trey Nixon, Devontae Parker, Matthew Slater, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, Riley Webb. It wouldn't hurt to take a receiver. It wouldn't hurt. I think you need somebody on the other side of Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker. I think Jordan could be your slot receiver, in my personal opinion. But I'm comfortable with this because, to me, he's shown the combine, especially after the catch speed he has that. And I think he'll thrive in the New York system. Now, if you push me, they do need a corner because they did trade Stephon Gilmore, but I feel like you can get those in day 2, day 3. You can the same case for a wide receiver, offensive lineman. But knowing Bill Belichick, it wouldn't phase me to take a receiver. 15, you've got to take an offensive lineman for Aaron Rodgers. I'm a fan of Malachi Becton, but the man cannot catch a break with injuries. I'm still holding out hope for him that he'll be back on the field healthy, but the injuries are just they're not looking too good, man. And for me, especially when you're not protecting number 8, you need offensive linemen. And Broderick Jones to me will fit just fine in the Big Apple. This is arguably probably I'd say the best pass blocker. If you paid attention the last 2 years, he protected Mr. Stinson Bennett's the fourth blind side. And for me, you need that. I value offensive linemen. I value left tackles, the offensive line, period. And you need that around Aaron Rodgers because they drafted Malachi last year. No, the year before. He was supposed to be on the right side of Vera Tucker, but oh my God, I feel bad for him, and I'm still holding out hope. I think Malachi will be back, but if you're New York, you got to take an offensive lineman, in my opinion. I consider tight end, but you have again you can find those day 2, day 3, in my opinion. Last 2 picks, let's get to it. The Washington Commanders, shout out to Sean Spencer, Will Kramer, Ablo. We're going to take Joey Porter Jr. I shout out to Watch the Football Weekly. I was on the show. We need really a lot of anything on defense, corner, linebacker, safety, defensive line. We need a lot on defense. We traded William Jackson III. This didn't work out. It was the scheme to me didn't work out with him. Kendall Fuller didn't really pan out. But you need corners. I think you need corners, and we need depth. That was something that was desperately showed, in my opinion. I like a corner here only because, for me, I think he could particularly, for me, he has the speed and the physicality that I think Washington will love. Particularly a guy like Jack Del Rio. He will love that. Now, I also considered a defensive tackle, but you just signed Deron Payne. I'm also a little concerned because we haven't picked up, as I'm recording this video, we have not picked up Chase Young's 5th-year option yet. And I'm curious to see where we'll go with that. I also considered Brian Branch out of Alabama, Emmanuel Forbes. There was a couple other people I considered here, but I feel like defense should be a high priority in this. And with the final pick of this video, because we're going to do the rest of the picks, number 17, Pittsburgh selects Darnell Wright. I think you need to continue just buff up your offensive line. For me, now that Kenny Pickett is your guy and Najee Harris, that offensive line needs a boost. It's been kind of that for a while. They made some moves, but there's nothing. Again, protecting your investment to me truly matters, and I like Darnell Wright. I think for me, he can play, but he can really play any side. He can play left or right tackle. I feel like at Tennessee he did better at right, but that's just me. But I'm comfortable with Pittsburgh taking offensive linemen. For me, I'm happy with what I saw this year from Pittsburgh. They really didn't need anything else. I mean, you can maybe get like a defensive guy, but I think offensive lineman to me would be a good choice for Pittsburgh. 18 through 31, we're going to record that video later today. But those are my first through 1 through 17. 18 through 20 through 31 is going to be very interesting, and I want you guys to be tuned in for that. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the last part of the podcast, and that is the final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
The final thought for me is I'm happy for these guys. The draft is a couple days upon us. This is a big moment. This is a new chapter. There's going to be some guys that may not have their name called. But understand that your hard work has gotten you to this point. There's a lot of sacrificing that has occurred to get you to where you're at this point. So I'm happy for each and every one of these young men. I cannot wait to see the draft. I'm curious to see this year, the fashion. I'm curious to see. I watched the WNBA draft. There's some of the fashion that was very interesting fashion by the ladies. But fellas, I'm curious to see. I can already see like having like the team or something like stitched in the draft suit. Or you can see that. But yes, I'm just happy for these guys, and I can't wait. But until then, that's going to conclude this episode 5, part 2, 18 through 31. We will be back with that. But until then, this has been your host, Nathan Snell. This episode will go as soon as possible. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also find the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also follow me on Twitter, Nathan Snell. You can also find me on Maryland Sports Blog, where you'll see great content for Maryland women's basketball, and also to the Washington Mystics. We also do have many great writers for the Baltimore Ravens and other DMV teams. But in the meantime, you're going to have great content coming out, the draft grades, all that. So be tuned for all that, ladies and gentlemen. But until then, it's your host, Nathan Snell, signing out. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.